Welcome to the Etsy Conversations podcast, featuring inspiring interviews with Etsy shop owners, hosted by Ijama Elazu.
Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama, and I thank you for joining me for another episode. This week, my guest is Nancy Badillo. Nancy runs the Etsy shop Nancy Marketing Tools, where she sells marketing resources for Etsy sellers and entrepreneurs. She also has a website where she shares so much information about how to run an Etsy shop and how to grow an Etsy-based business. And so we're going to talk all about that and learn more about Nancy. So Nancy, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So before we jump into it, can you just tell us a little bit about you and how you ended up on Etsy?
Oh, of course. So I've been in the digital space now for 11 years. And in 2015, I got married to my husband. And a lot of my friends were telling me, you should, check out Etsy. They have a lot of handmade items that you could buy for your wedding. And I've never heard of Etsy prior before.
Wow.
So I remember going to Etsy and it was like, oh, this is such a cool platform. And I ended up buying like do-it-yourself invites, wedding signs, a couple other things. And the lady made like $65 out of me. And they were all edible files. So I would, buy them from her, download them instantly, edit them myself, print myself. And I was like, it just sparked that idea of maybe I should start my own Etsy store. And I didn't have no experience when it came to creating anything handmade or printables, but I started selling like quotes on a Word document. I will create quotes and sell them on Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
And on my first year on Etsy, I did it as a case study for my blog. And I ended up making a little bit over 21,000. And that's kind of how my career started with Etsy.
Mm-hmm. So did you, when you opened up that first store selling the printables,
mm-hmm.
you already had a background in the digital space, so that there wasn't a learning curve there. But as far as Etsy, how did you figure out what to do to sell your digital products?
Well, I knew how to promote myself, so that part I didn't struggle with. And I had a lot of people coming back and buying from my store. The only issue I had was, one, being creative, learning how to create things because I've never made them before, learning how to use like graphic design tools and finding information, because in 2016, there weren't that many Etsy codes as now. So the biggest mistake I made was I was using copyrighted quotes. So I would use like "This Girl's on Fire," from Alicia Keys.
Yeah.
And I started using those quotes. And in the first 6 months, I started getting infringements and intellectual property notices. And that's when I started researching more, because I honestly thought, well, everyone else is doing it, I could sell these too.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case, because if it's copyrighted, you're not supposed to use. So I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. And when I started receiving all those intellectual property notices that my listings were going to come down because I was using copyrighted stuff, I started researching, learning more. And that's when I switched to like the wedding niche. And then I started using like graphic design tools like Photoshop and Canva, and I started learning more. But I did make a lot of mistakes in the beginning because I didn't know about copyrights the way I should have probably educated myself in the beginning.
So Nancy, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I know sometimes people run afoul of Etsy because they infringe on someone else's copyright or another company's copyright. But you were able to come out of it. What was the process like coming to a resolution with Etsy when you got notification that you were infringing on someone else's copyright or intellectual property?
Well, I think what I did was when I started receiving them, I just started educating myself, because a lot of it didn't make sense to me. A lot of it was you can't use the word onesie on a print.
You
No,
can't?
no, it's copyright. It's
Is it?
copyright. So
Oh,
certain stuff was like more common sense. Like when they told me you can't say "girl on fire" because that's
yeah.
copyrighted from a song, I
Yeah.
understood that. But when they were saying you can't use this one word, I'm like, really?
Oh
This
my
one word?
goodness.
So I think at that point it was either learn and not continue to make the mistake,
Mm-hmm.
or be hard headed and say, whatever, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
put it up again and get my store suspended. So I decided just to learn. And the more I read about copyright laws and certain quotes you could use are 2,000 years old and certain you can, it was a little bit of a headache for me, to be quite honest. So I decided, you know what, bump it. I had like over 1,000 listings I already had created. I had TV show lines, friends lines, everything. I mean, I just took everything down and started all over again. That's how I
Wow.
handled it. It wasn't
Wow.
worth it for me to
Yeah.
get my store closed down if I couldn't use it. I mean, if I couldn't use them, then what's the point of continue doing it? Eventually, they were going to shut me down if I didn't change it.
And just to clarify, even
Hmm.
if you do give attribution, does that always mean that you can use a particular quote?
No, I think attribution, and don't quote me on this because I don't know
Okay,
the
we are
law.
we
But
are not lawyers. Neither Nancy nor I are lawyers. We're just discussing what we
okay.
think.
No, but I think for me, like what I've understood about attribution is more if you use it for personal reason. So
Mm-hmm.
if you put a quote on your Instagram post
Mm-hmm.
and you give attribution to someone, you say got this from whoever, that's fine. But when you're using it to gain personal gain, which is like make money out of, then that's
Mm-hmm.
when you're not allowed to.
Okay.
Hmm.
And also, I believe that not I believe I know that there are resources if you're thinking of selling digital products. There are resources, and even if not digital, but anything that you might have questions about whether or not they're copyrighted or if the intellectual property belongs to someone else, you can do searches in the US and in most countries to check copyrights and if something belongs to someone already.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You could go to uspsto.gov, I think is the site.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and you could go in there and you could put in a specific keyword or phrase, and it will tell you if it's still copyrighted, if it expired, in case you want to copyright it. What I've noticed is that when it comes to quotes and stuff like that, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things are copyrighted. Like even things that you wouldn't think would be copyrighted are.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Hmm.
I'll put a link to that USPTO PT.
Hmm.
I'll figure it
So
out. Make sure I get
I
the
can
right
always
one.
send you. Yeah, I'll send you the link so you can have
Okay.
it.
Thank
Hmm.
you.
No
Yeah.
problem.
So folks can look that up and make sure, just do checks. And I know that there's also a resource I came across a while ago that lists every country's copyright office or patent office or something like that. So you can search by country and then it will take you
Okay.
to that country's patent office. So I will look for that as well. I know I have it stashed away
Somewhere.
somewhere.
Okay, yeah, please share with me as well.
I will. Yeah, I'll have to find it and then share it. So, okay, so then your first shop opens, you figure out you're doing things incorrectly, but you don't
Hmm.
give up on Etsy. You go back and you retool and then you come back. What was the next incarnation, if you will, of your Etsy journey?
For me, it was like, okay, quotes are too complicated. It was like too many rules and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking, okay, so a lot of stores that do really well on Etsy, they sell like wedding invites, they sell wedding signs, and anything related for wedding. So my take was, okay, let me start a wedding sign shop or a wedding shop that I could sell stationery and everything related to wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And that really helped me get away from getting notices and infringement notices. And I actually was able to go from like $5 per print to like $5 to all the way $40 per item. and it
Oh,
actually helped me increase my revenue. So I think the biggest takeaway for me was that the biggest mistake I made wasn't really a mistake because it helped me in my next venture, which was the wedding shop.
yeah.
And because of that mistake, I was able to actually double and the next year triple my income because of it.
Oh, wow. And these
Mhm.
are also digital products.
Yes, they're all digital products, which
Okay.
means for those that are interested in learning more, you sell them a file. Let's say you create
Mm-hmm.
a wedding sign for the customer.
Mm-hmm.
You edit the file for them, you add their name, their wedding day, and the verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
Once they approve the final file, you send them the JPEG and PDF, and the customer is in charge of printing the file themselves. So there's no
Okay.
shipping fees, very low overhead expenses, no inventory in your home. It's
Yeah.
very easy to do and very profitable. Your return on investment is usually very high as
Very
well
high.
with digital products.
That's great. One of the things I've seen in the digital space on Etsy, which always kind of boggles my mind, is the prices tend to be very low. And I know that the work of digital products tends to be front ended, as in when you're creating it, when you're making it in the beginning, is when you put in a lot of the time and the effort to create a really good product so that you can then sell it over and over again and not worry about it. But sometimes I do worry that some sellers price their items so low that yes, the prices might be attractive to buyers, but I feel it would take a really long time to make up for the time and the effort and even the resources that you use to create, or not you, but the sellers use, because you have to buy, well, not you have to, but sometimes you invest in graphic design tools and whatnot, and even maybe classes to learn new graphic styles or buy fonts and what have you. So, how did you figure out what a good pricing strategy was for your digital products without hanging around at the bottom of the pricing totem pole?
Yeah, I think that's a big one because a lot of people feel when they first start, they feel like they have to go very low in pricing
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way they're going to get sales. And I think like that's the biggest mistake you can make. I think it's just pricing it at a reasonable price. With digital products, it's not like you really have to calculate shipping and other things that then you really have to play with it a lot more to get a return on investment. The return on investment is already so high that what I recommend now that I didn't really use back then is there's tools like
Yeah.
erank.com that they have pricing calculators
Mm-hmm.
that you could put in like, okay, I want to do a wedding sign. What is the average sale on Etsy for that? And it gives you like an average sale.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, you can make decisions on how you want to price your listings. Another thing I did that helped me in the beginning when I didn't have eRank, I would look at other stores to get an example
Mm-hmm.
and then I will price it based on my competitors. And then I will also do multiple sizes. So if you did like a 8 by 10, I probably would charge you like $6. But if you wanted like the 24 by 36 with maybe personalized, that will be more. So I kind of gave customers the option of this of different pricing as well.
And the file sizes would be different, I assume, for different sizes.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. So you
Okay.
would create the file and then you could resize it using any type of software like Photoshop or Canva. You're able to resize it to the new file within seconds. It's not like um, you have to redo it manually.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, from a design standpoint, do you think that um, anyone is capable of learning how to create um, digital products that will attract buyers? Or do you think, like with some crafts, it takes a certain level of skill and maybe even gifting?
No, actually, I used to think that way. I used to think if I'm gonna sell wedding invites or I'm gonna sell wedding signs, I
Mm-hmm.
have to be a graphic designer. I have to have a
Mm-hmm.
creative eye. I
Yeah.
have to have experience of being an illustrator. Well, and that's the reason when I first started Etsy, I was using Word to create like quotes
Oh, no.
because I really didn't understand the world of um, creating digital products. And once I started learning about intellectual property, once I started learning about sites like Creative Market, that you could go in there, pay for a licensed commercial flowers, let's say.
Uh-huh.
And all I need to do is add flowers and add the words like welcome to our wedding, and that's it. And I was like, oh my God, I could have been doing this a long time ago. But I was so stuck in my mind. I
Yeah.
have to be a graphic designer. I could never do that. And what I realized is that not everyone in Etsy is a graphic designer. I don't know the percentage, but I would say at least 50% of people are buying graphic designs and using that to add to their print or to their wedding invite or
Mm.
whatever they sell. But not everyone in there is as talented as someone that is actually creating it themselves manually on an
Mm.
iPad, drawing it. And that's what I thought you had to be in order to sell those type of prints
That's
or
what
those
I thought
type of
too.
digital products. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And that's encouraging for
It
someone
is.
who's listening right now and thinking, okay, is digital products something I can try, even though I don't have any experience in it? It's good to know that it's possible to buy licenses to um, for creative products that other people have made and then combine them into something unique that you can then sell. It's kind of like buying fabric and buttons and thread to sew an outfit, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very similar. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how you run your business. What does a typical day look like for you?
Of course. With digital products, it's a little bit easier than with like tangible products because majority of my products are instant downloads. So the customer buys, they download and print. So I'm not producing the or creating the product at that moment. I think excuse me, I think my daily routine is going in there and checking messages. If somebody did order like a sign or something that is personalized, obviously doing those personalized items. But it's very low key because majority of my stuff I'm making passive income from. I think the biggest struggle for many people, especially when they buy digital products, is not understanding how do they get it printed, how do
Yeah.
they download the file. So I do spend a little bit more time with that aspect, explaining to customers this is how you download it. This is where places where you could take it to get it print. I think that's the only thing that I might spend a little bit more time. But my daily is I usually check during the morning. I check and then I check again at night again one more time just in case I have any new orders.
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple because of the fact that majority of it is instant download.
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, also in Nancy Marketing Tools, you offer Etsy help as well.
Yes. Hmm. I have in there, I plan to add more stuff to it eventually, but I have an Etsy shop critique that I offer for individuals that have either they're new at Etsy or they're seasoned sellers and they want a full critique of their store. What's cool about those versus the ones that I do free on my YouTube channel is if you pay for an Etsy critique, is anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour of me critiquing your whole entire store. So I
Wow.
give you, I take a particular listing, I do an audit of a listing. So I talk about product photography, I talk about the title, the listing, on page SEO factors, off page SEO factors. I talk about branding, the curation of your shop, how to grow your email, and much more, and different hacks and strategies that if you were to apply everything I said will eventually help you scale your Etsy business every year and every year after that.
Wow. Seems like a lot of time and effort goes into that, and use.
Definitely, because they're paying for, they're paying $100 for it.
Yeah,
So I don't want to do like a 20-minute critique when they pay so much money. So
yeah,
for a lot of people, especially the ones that are asking for help, they don't have money to just spend
uh,
on fluff material. So I
yeah.
really try to dive in. And those videos, I make them private on my
Okay,
YouTube channel. So when you buy a critique, you get a link and you're the only person that could see them.
okay, okay.
And I do that for reasons that sometimes I do share more about their personal strategies,
Hmm.
or and I don't want to make that publicly for everyone, and it makes them feel more comfortable that they're the
Yeah.
only ones that could see it.
And will someone have access to that video for as long as they need to, especially if you give them steps, or not
Yes.
steps, but
Mhm.
different things that they need to do so they can go back and re-listen or re-watch and see what, or re-listen to what you said?
Yes, that is correct. They get the link and it stays in my channel forever. I don't plan to delete it.
Okay.
So they could always go back and rewatch and apply any lessons or reach out back to me on Etsy if they feel like they have additional questions, of course.
Okay. So let's talk about your YouTube channel, because I am so amazed at what you're doing on YouTube. You have a channel, it's called Nancy Badillo. If anyone wants to check it out, I will link to her YouTube channel as well. And you just offer so much free, valuable information. Why did you take to YouTube?
Well, I always wanted to do YouTube. I did it a couple years back and I wasn't successful with it. But what I learned now, that the reason why I wasn't successful with YouTube, the main reason was back then I didn't have an audience in mind. I was just promoting anything and everything. So it wasn't, the videos weren't really sticking. And now when I started my Etsy business, I started thinking, okay, when I was doing Etsy and I was looking for help, there weren't that many videos out there. So I said it'd be really cool if somebody talked about Etsy. So instead of me competing with the Neil Patels and Gary Vee, that is so impossible to win in that market,
Yeah.
I was like, I should be like an Etsy coach where I help people. And the first 2 years, to be quite honest with you, all I did was provide value, value, value,
Yeah.
whether I was showing you a tutorial or teaching you stuff that I learned. I didn't have a course. I didn't offer, here, join this. I try not to do fluff material. I know that when you do YouTube in the beginning, you're not as great as when you do it 2 years later, you become better. And I still got room to grow. But my main focus was, let me provide as much value as I can, and hopefully this will grow into something.
Yeah. One of the things I like about your YouTube channel is your audience is obviously Etsy sellers,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't you don't pigeonhole your your target audience into just one area. So you talk about other ways that as sellers you can sell on Etsy but still also make money, but not have to deviate so far away from what you're already doing on Etsy.
Exactly.
and and so, like, I'll just give, because I'm on your YouTube channel now, I'll just throw out some of the videos that you've done. And this isn't like from years ago. These are more recently, like in the last few months. But you've been running this YouTube channel for a while now, and your consistency is just amazing. I mean, that you do the videos. I thought, podcasting, oh, it's easy, I don't have to, well, I mean, I do some editing, but like with videos, they seem so much more magnanimous to me. And so I just think, wow, anybody who can do that many videos. So there's creative marketing affiliate creative market affiliate marketing. The creative market you just mentioned is where
Mm-hmm.
one can go and buy um,
The graphic
the
design.
graphic designs,
Mm-hmm.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
to fonts and clip art, or
Yep,
flowers
exactly. You
and
got it right.
artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also make money by promoting products there as well. And so you talk about how Etsy sellers can do that.
Mm-hmm.
as well. You talk about Instagram for Etsy marketing. You talk about Etsy's new advertising. You talk about how to use eRank to look at competitors and help sellers do their you know make sure they're staying competitive.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's very helpful,
Oh, thank
your
you.
channel, and I will link to that, so anybody who wants to check it out. And the nice thing is sometimes you can just listen, you don't have to always look, but sometimes you do have to look because you're showing how to do things as well, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. And so eventually, and we're talking about like now, you've taken on a role of becoming an Etsy coach. What do you do for clients and people who come to you for help?
Well, if they head over to my YouTube channel, I try to provide as much value as I can when it comes to building a successful online business. Um, I also try to teach things that I have learned, like how to make money online. It's not like you're going to become a millionaire, but you know how you can make an extra $400 a month that maybe you could apply towards your Etsy store.
Yeah.
So I kind of teach stuff like that. If you go to my Etsy shop, then I have the Etsy shop critique, which is the main one that I normally sell, where I help people that are stuck or they need help or they need more than just a video. They want someone to like break their store down and kind of say, this is what you're doing good. This is what needs to
Yeah.
be fixed. You should add these strategies. So I do that as well. And then I also have now a arts printable course. And the cool thing about the course is you're able to use it whether you're a seasoned seller or a new Etsy seller. And with the Arts Printable course, you learn, you get 45 videos where I teach you how to start an arts printable business from scratch. On top of that, you get like seven additional bonuses with it. Like seven, you could call them like seven additional courses. So I teach you how to use Facebook for your Etsy store. I teach you how to use Pinterest for your Etsy store. I teach you how to create Facebook groups for your Etsy business. I teach you how to use Instagram for your Etsy business, how to use Instagram stories for your Etsy business. I teach you also, um, I show you 11 digital products that you could create from scratch, step by step using Canva.
Yeah.
um, so I literally I'm adding all these additional courses that you get. So not only are you getting how to create a arts printable business, you're learning how to take a business, even in a saturated market, and how
Yeah.
to scale it and take it to the next level and become an industry leader in your particular niche.
And these are all things that you've learned and you're sharing.
Exactly. These are all the things that I have used in my own business to
Okay.
grow. Like my email list is over 40,000.
Wow.
My following is about 220,000. These are the things that I have learned
Oh, wow.
that have helped me take my name to the next level. And if you do so for your store, this is how you're able to do that as well. Hmm.
One of the things I like is that you haven't abandoned selling on Etsy to just focus on teaching, because I think it's important to keep your feet in the water, so you're you still understand what's going on, in the marketplace, what changes are coming about,
Exactly.
what's working and what isn't. So do you are you with the art principles course
Hmm.
constantly revamping it as things change on the platform, as trends change? Is that
Yes.
something you teach people to look out for, and also how to follow the way the market is going?
Yes, I am. I'm actually either constantly changing it because I get so much feedback from my group members. They're like, well, you're not explaining this, or can you explain more on this? I'm like, that's a good idea. So then I go do a video and then I'll update it in the group and then I send a massive email because not everyone uses Facebook. So
Yeah.
I'll do an email blast to everyone that joined the course and say I did an update on this specific term. So ever since I started the course, I think from the Facebook group feedback, I have done like 4 videos already that I added a addition to everything else that I'm adding. And then on top of that, I have a person that I'm working with. He has a plugin called XC360 that allows you to add your Xe store to WordPress. So I added that to the course, and then people were like, well, I don't know how to, it seems easy, but it would be nice to have a step-by-step tutorial. So he did like a 45-minute tutorial, and I added that to the course. So I'm constantly updating it based on feedback, updating it based on tools that are new or tools that I think are worthy of sharing. And then on top of that, like you said, if anything changes on Etsy, I'm updating that as well as I go, or Pinterest or whatever other platform I'm promoting, or I'm not promoting but talking about in the course.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. That's reassuring to know. Now, is the course always open? I know sometimes with some courses, there's a limited time when one can get access to it. How does yours work?
Mine is open all the time. The only thing I do occasionally, and I ask people if they like to, is a wait list. I keep mine open so anyone could join at any time. However, if you are one of the few people that are like, well, I want to learn more about the course, maybe they never heard of me before. What I do is I add those people in a wait list. And the wait list, you get an email sequence. And I told them this from the first email. You're going to get an email sequence and you're going to get all these emails um, about the course, just strictly about the course. So the first one will be this is everything that you get. So I don't overwhelm them because there's so much stuff you're getting on this course. You could easily get overwhelmed if I just do one email. So I break it down into this is what you get. Email number 2, these are additional bonuses that you're getting. Then an email number 3, let me take you behind the course. So then I did a video where I show you every single module and I talk about everything that you're getting. You see all the videos. Then I have another video where I take them behind the Facebook group. So you could see me interacting with the community. You could see everybody asking questions where you could get 24/7 coaching from me. You'll see the thread where you leave a question for me and I answer it for you. So by the time they finish that email sequence, if they should be comfortable enough to say, okay, this is great for me, or you know what, I'm going to pass, but at least they have all the information. So that's what I normally do as well.
And that's a great marketing strategy. Is that part of what people can learn from you to apply to their own shops as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've just learned to do this, like, to be quite honest, the last couple months, because before I really didn't do email marketing. I didn't nurture the list. And then I was like, well, what's a great way that I could promote the course? But instead of like saying buy now and they really don't know about it, how can I provide more information, valuable information, they could learn about it, and then later make an informed decision if they want to buy or not. So yeah, they could learn from this. I do talk about email sequence and nurturing your emails. I mean, your subscribers in the course, and this is part of it. The strategy that I use.
Okay. Now, you
Mhm.
also said there are 45 videos currently in the course.
Well, there's actually more than that,
Oh,
but the first part of the course is 45 videos that teach you how to start, grow an arts printable course. And then you
okay.
get, addition to that, you have another, like, let's say 11 videos for do-it-yourself products. So now you're at 56 videos. Then you got
Oh.
another video for Instagram stories, and you get 300 Instagram story prompts that I created for Etsy sellers. And then I think the Facebook profile, how to use Facebook profile into a sales funnel. I think that's 10 videos. How to grow your Facebook group. I think that's 13 videos. Um, how to how to create a fan page. I think that's another 12. So I think I'm past 70 videos right
Oh
now.
my goodness.
And I'm still
When
adding because
do
I'm
you
working on my things.
sleep?
I don't. I feel sometimes like I don't.
Now, realistically, how much time would you say one should set aside to devote to going through the course and learning everything, and at what pace do you think is a good pace?
Everyone's different, I think, because some people want to do the binge watching. I got in people that say, "Oh my God, I'm almost done," and it's like 4 days in.
Mm,
And then some people are like, "Oh, I'm taking my time. I'm going through everything first before I jump the gun. I want to like make sure that I'm learning everything first." So it is self-paced, so you could do it however you like. The way
okay.
the videos are done is there's no introduction, it's like straight to the point. So some videos are as long as 2 minutes, and then some videos are like 20 minutes long, but that's because I'm showing you a whole tutorial on how to do something. So
Okay.
those take a little bit longer, but I do try to make them less full. Like YouTube, you do your introduction, you do your outro at the end. I don't do that on the
Mm-hmm.
videos. I just jump into
Mm,
whatever topic we're talking about
don't
and
waste
then go to
time.
the next video.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. I don't even know where to begin next because I feel like there's so much that comes with this, and to me it sounds like, at the end of it, and at the time we're recording this, we're recording in June of 2020, so we're right in the middle of the COVID, everything going on with COVID. Some states are out of lockdown, some are still transitioning. It's
Mm-hmm.
still, it's still a thing. And by the time this episode airs for the first time, I believe COVID will still be a thing because it's going to be with us for a while. Um, is this something that you think someone who maybe has gone through some type of job furlough, or maybe they've had their hours reduced, or maybe completely lost their jobs, is this something that you think can help an aspiring or even a current Etsy seller who is struggling actually build a successful business on Etsy?
Yeah, starting like I said, a digital business with either art printables, or if you do digital products, is the cost of it is very low to start. I mean, literally, you could use Canva to create your designs. That's like $12 a month. You could do a 30-day trial to try it out, and then you could buy a bundle of flowers that will cost you, like, let's say $15, and with that bundle of flowers create like 300 products. If you were that create, if you become very creative with it and start
Okay.
saying, okay, I could do a wedding invite, I could do a wedding site, I could do tags, I could do all these matching things that goes with weddings.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you literally could start your business with under $100, or even less than that, to be quite honest. And
Okay.
if you build it the correct way, start making money online for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, that's encouraging.
Thank you.
Do you think it's necessary for sellers to have a website or a blog as an, I don't know if addendum is the right word, but an offshoot of what they're doing on Etsy, kind of like you do, except yours is different because you're teaching. But for somebody who is just trying to focus on growing their business, be it printables, digital products, what have you, um, is it a good idea to also expand in that way?
Yeah, I do think so. Eventually, I feel like everyone should have a blog
Mm-hmm.
where they also promote their products. Etsy, for whatever reason, they could, suspend your store at any given moment, and you could lose everything. So having your own store, you have a little bit more control. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to grow your email list a lot better, a lot easier, because Etsy makes it a little bit difficult to do so, because you can't add pop-ups and banners and stuff. Addition to that, you're able to grow your business more with a blog because you're able to do articles that are enriched with SEO keywords to drive additional traffic back to your blog at all times.
Okay.
So yeah, and in addition to that, when you shop on Etsy, if somebody lands on your listing and they scroll all the way down to your page, your competitors are down there. Etsy puts your
Yeah.
competitor similar items on the bottom.
Yeah.
Versus if you have a blog and you drive traffic there to your products, there's no other people competing with you. So that's another big one.
What what role do you think social media should be playing for sellers, especially say with digital products where you can't really take a picture of it? At least I don't think you can. So does social media also help with digital stores, digital product sellers?
Yeah, social media is a big one because ultimately, when once you start your store, you want to grow your brand, and the quickest way to grow your brand is using social media, whether you feel comfortable with it or not,
Mm-hmm.
or whether it's something that you don't particularly like. Eventually you're going to have to get used to it because it's
Yeah.
the new way now to promote your
Yeah.
store and drive additional traffic back to it.
Yeah.
The good thing is, if you feel a little bit unease with using social media, if you are not the brand, let's say you are behind the brand and you have like a logo, that's a lot easier to manage. I feel for most people, they'll be okay with creating stuff versus when they are the brand like me, that I have my face plastered everywhere. A lot of people are not really comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So just talking a bit more about Etsy and promoting one's shop or one's products, have you or do you use, I think they call it Etsy ads now, but what used to be known as promoted listings?
Hmm. Yes, I actually do use them
Mm-hmm.
because Etsy ads is just another great way to drive additional traffic back to your store.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that you could use to promote your products and services and drive the additional traffic, I do recommend it.
Okay.
However, you could grow your store if you did a strong brand and you were using outside platforms like social media. So
Mm.
you don't necessarily have to run an Etsy ad. You can always do just regular marketing on Pinterest or social media like Instagram, Facebook, building your email list.
Mm.
You don't have to spend money to remarket to those people again. So there's other ways you could do it, but in the beginning, if you don't have a large following and you're still growing, Etsy ads might be your best bet, or any type of ads like Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Hmm.
Do you know if the new offsite ads that Etsy is doing now are digital products included in that? Like, do they drive traffic to digital products as well, or is it only
Oh, yeah.
physical?
No, it's for everyone in the
Okay.
platform, whether you sell digital products, vintage,
Hmm.
handmade items, it doesn't matter. They promote everything. Hmm.
Okay. All right. And so in the art principles course, these are things that one can learn about and just how to use them specifically for art principles.
Yes, in the course, you're learning how to create art printables. But addition to that, you're learning how to create digital products because I
Hmm.
have 11 videos where I show you how to create
Right.
digital products.
Hmm.
But I always tell people everything you learn in the course, even I have people that are not making printables that signed up for the course
Hmm.
because they're getting 8 courses in one. They're learning how to start, manage, and grow Etsy shops because I talk about SEO, I talk about email marketing, I talk about choosing the right niche,
Hmm.
choosing writing your niche statement. So they're learning how to do that for their own stores that they already have.
Okay.
So if you decide, well, I don't want to do printables or digital products, you could still enroll in the course because I'm going to teach you how to grow a brand using all social media platforms
Mm.
as well as how to use Etsy the correct way. So the
Okay.
lessons that you learn there could be applied on Etsy, on your own blog, Shopify in the future. If you wanted to venture out and create a Shopify store, you could apply everything on any platform, to be quite honest.
Okay. Let's talk about competition because I don't know if you've looked around the market. There are some other like printables courses. Do you think that this is an area on Etsy that is saturated or could possibly be saturated, or with the right amount of creativity and differentiation, someone
Hmm.
can be successful?
Yeah, you could be successful. The key to it is building a brand and leveraging the power of social media to grow it. A lot of people, the reason why they're not as successful is because they didn't choose a micro niche. They're selling everything and anything. They don't know their target audience, and they only promote on Etsy, and they solely um, are waiting for Etsy to drive the traffic. They're not growing their brand at all outside of Etsy. So
Okay.
in the beginning, they might have a couple sales because they're a new store, so they're getting, um, they're listing all the time, so they're constantly getting views. But
Yeah.
eventually, when they stop doing new listings, and they start noticing that their sales start dropping,
Yep.
and that's the reason why, because they're not expanding outside of Etsy. They're just solely relying on the Etsy algorithm, which a lot of times is really hard because if all these additional stores are opening and selling similar products as you, now you have all these competition. So how do you separate yourself from everyone else?
Okay.
Hmm.
Now, before I forget, where can people go to learn more about the principles course or just more information about what you're doing online?
There's several ways. They could reach me at Nancy, but they could go to my blog, nancybadillo.com.
Okay.
They could email me at info@nancybadillo.com. And if they want to go to my YouTube channel just to check me out, get to know me a little bit more, check out my content, they could do like a search, Nancy
Okay.
Badillo, and they could find me.
Okay.
Um, and I'm really easy to talk to. So if anyone
Yes.
has any questions about anything, like it doesn't matter. I hear so many people that say, I know this is a dumb question. No question is dumb.
No,
So
right.
if you have a question about digital products and you never heard of them before and you want more clarification, just email me and I
Yeah.
will email you back.
Okay. I will have links to everywhere that you can find Nancy. If you're listening now
Thank you.
and you just want to quickly jump on, her website again is nancybadillo.com. It's NANCYBADILLO
Yes.
dot com. And that's how you spell Nancy Badillo everywhere.
Yes, exactly. Mhm.
Nancy, what's one thing about selling on Etsy that you really like right now? And then on the flip side, is there any feature that doesn't yet exist on the platform that you would like to see?
Yes, what I really like is the fact that I could sell digital products,
Yeah.
especially now because of everything that's happening. They're getting more popular and people are buying more of those. I think the one feature that I would like Etsy to add is the fact that when people buy digital products, it says it's getting shipped, but nothing's really getting shipped. I wish that they would change that and have a
Oh,
section that when people buy, it just says it's getting, your order has been completed, downloaded at whatever. And that will make life easier for those that sell digital products because you get a lot of people that buy but maybe they didn't read the listing description or didn't notice that
right.
they were buying a digital product and nothing's getting shipped to them. So that
Has
would be the biggest thing I would change.
has that type of confusion ever resulted in uh like a negative feedback or bad review for you that you
Yes,
can
it
remember?
has.
It
Yes,
has.
it
Oh
has.
no.
Majority of my, if I have any bad reviews, come from that specifically. So I
Huh.
have tried my best now to do different things. So when they're looking at photos, they know it's a digital download. When they're reading the listing description, it's clearly stated in there to avoid or to reduce complaints.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I would think it was clear because Etsy puts that thing on the pictures where it says digital download.
They do, yeah, they do it, and it's very like almost like
It's
transparent a little bit.
transparent. Yeah, it is
And
very
I think
transparent.
maybe that's the reason why people don't see it. I'm
Yeah.
assuming, yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting. Okay. Um what's a piece of advice that you would give to a veteran seller right now who's kind of struggling on Etsy? What would you tell that person?
I think the biggest advice is not to give up because I know like right now because of the pandemic and everything that we're going through, it can be a little bit more difficult to get sales, especially when stuff like weddings like are not doing as great for me this year because everybody had to
Oh
cancel
yeah.
their wedding and we
Yeah, or have a house
postponed.
wedding.
Exactly, or have one of those, exactly. So I think the biggest thing is, if you are one of those sellers that are struggling at the moment, just reevaluate what you make and maybe think about, okay, what can I sell now that people are looking for versus what I sell that is not doing so well.
Mm.
And once things get back better and, as normal as I guess they're ever going to be, then hopefully adding those products and services again.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. What would you say is something that you're doing now, that's working really well for you?
I think for me is always promoting my products outside of Etsy.
Mm.
That really helps me to keep driving traffic back to my store. And also looking at what can I change on my keywords. If I have keywords that people are really not searching for, are they really targeted to my target audience? Am I using keywords that are too broad? Do I
Mm.
have opportunities of new keywords? Sometimes just doing like an SEO, like change it and change your SEO keywords and just looking at using new keywords that could probably drive you potential new traffic.
Okay.
Just looking at things that what can I work on right now that I know that will help me scale my business to the next level.
Yeah.
I haven't added, I don't have an email list yet. Let me start doing that then so I could
Yeah.
remarket to people. I don't have the best photos. Maybe I need to update my photos. Like
Mm-hmm.
just look at your store and just be very um, critical, I guess is the
Critical,
word.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, and like be honest with yourself and say, okay, what do I know I should have been doing, but I haven't been doing, and then
Yeah.
kind of work on that.
Okay. How often do you reassess your store and your listings to see what's working and what's not? Or how often would you advise other sellers to do that?
Well, I always tell people 90 days
Okay.
to 90 days only because when you change your keywords, how SEO works, it could take up to 30 to 60 days to see results.
Mm.
And then I like to wait another month just to see which listings are doing really well and which ones I need to change. If
Okay.
you have like a bestseller or something, obviously don't change those keywords.
Yeah.
But definitely, I would say every 90 days will
Okay.
be a good number to reevaluate your tags. And what I normally do, I don't look at all my listings. I do the bottom listings, the ones that haven't gotten any sales. I
Okay.
work on those.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right. And for anyone who doesn't know, you can actually get that information in your shop stats in the shop manager, the stats section of your shop manager.
Yes,
It's
that is correct. Hmm.
there's so much information in there. It's mind-boggling, actually.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, you'd be surprised. Like sometimes I do little videos, like 30 hacks that you didn't know about Etsy, and
yeah.
people message me like, "I never seen that there."
Yes. Yeah. I did one once when I figured out how to record on my phone
Hmm.
and in the app, and even just the app alone, there's so much that app does. It's unbelievable, and I can't remember what it was I did, and one of the very few YouTube videos I've ever actually done. And yeah, it was like that where people were like, oh my goodness, that's there. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot there.
Hmm. Exactly. And once you start using it more, I think the more you use it, the more you get
The more you
acclimated with, the
discover.
more you start finding little things
Yeah.
also. Hmm.
Yes. And speaking of apps and tools, are there any in particular tools or resources that you found particularly helpful that you use? I know you already mentioned eRank and Creative Market. Are there any others that you don't mind sharing?
No, I don't. I think for me is eRank because I do a lot of competitive research, like the
Mm-hmm.
tag creative market because it's easy to use and I could create it. I could create my printables and use it for all the aspects of my business.
Okay.
Um, the XC360 plugin because you could add your actual store to your website. To your WordPress site. I'm in the process of doing that as well.
Is that
Um,
is that available for everyone yet?
yeah, that is available. It's
Okay.
not a plugin that I created. It's just I'm working with someone. I'm one of their ambassadors, I guess you could say. And
Okay.
it's an amazing plugin. I could give you information on that as well
Okay.
for your listeners. And I think that plugin is really great for anyone that has a WordPress, wants to connect their store, but they don't want to do all this massive work transferring listings. It does it
Oh,
automatically. And within 10 minutes, you have your store
on
in your
your
WordPress. So that's a really great tool that I would
Oh,
recommend.
I have a
Um,
question about
mhm.
that. Is it like, do you remember Etsy Mini?
No, let's see.
Oh, okay. So
No,
this
I
goes
don't.
back to way back when on Etsy. There used to be this thing called Etsy Mini, and you
Okay.
could grab a snippet of code and then put it on your website, and it would be your Etsy shop on your website. But then if somebody clicks on something that they want, it takes them to Etsy to check out.
Oh, and that's how this one works as well. Because
Okay.
I
So
think
yeah.
I don't know all the technical thing behind it, but I
Mm-hmm.
think that that's the only way that these tools could use Etsy as a platform. So once a person checks out, it takes them back to Etsy and they
Yeah.
check out there.
Okay.
Which I
Okay.
kind of like because if it's their first time shopping and they never heard of you, let's say they found
Yes.
you on Pinterest, it's
Yeah.
more trustworthy for the buyer because they're like, oh, okay, I'm checking out on Etsy. I feel comfortable
Yeah.
versus checking out at a random store.
Yeah.
Especially in the beginning, if you haven't grown your brand, they
Mm-hmm.
might not feel as comfortable as putting their credit card in. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree. And it saves you some, time and effort and technical know-how, because, then you don't have to set up a payment gateway on your website and
Yes,
deal with
exactly.
all that. So,
Exactly. And deal with failed payments and who knows what else.
yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Hmm.
Okay. So Etsy 360 plugin, I'll put that in. Again, that's for if you have a WordPress website.
Yes, that is correct. It
Yeah.
only works for WordPress. Hmm.
Okay. All right. Great tools. I forgot to ask you about this, and if you don't have one, that's okay. But an Etsy shop shout out. Do you have one? This could be either someone who sells on Etsy that you just want to give some love to, or somebody that has helped you out, or just another shop that you want to recognize.
Oh, okay. That's a good one. I'm trying to like, you know how you get like spaced out. You're like, what shop can I?
Yeah.
There's a young lady that started my course program, and I feel like every time she asks a question or she post a question on the Facebook group, she actually follows through with whatever advice either me or the group gives her, and I
Oh.
think she's doing a really great job. Her store is Leah's Way, and it's her you could find her on Instagram because that's the only way I remember. Her Instagram handle is Leigahas _ and then way like WAY, and she
Wait,
has
sorry. You said Leighas
uh-huh
and then underscore way?
way, so
Okay.
WAY.
Okay.
Yep, and she has great stuff on her store. She just started. She has a lot of planners.
Mm-hmm.
So for anyone out there that loves planners, want to
Mm-hmm.
learn about, she does a lot of like fix your credit planners, financial planners, and
Oh,
other
okay.
fun stuff as well. But I would check her out. And that's the one I want to give a little bit love today.
Okay, good. So I will put is her name Leah
Yes,
or
I want
no?
to say her name is
Okay.
Leah.
Okay.
But you know how a lot of people change their name and the handle, and it's hard
Yes.
to like keep track of all of them. But
Yeah.
um, I want to say it is because I always remember her name for some reason. So yes.
Okay. So I'll put her Instagram handle, and then I'll track down her Etsy shop and put a link to that. And if
Okay,
you
sounds
just want to
good.
go to the website and you're listening to this, go to convome.com and click on her store. Since I don't know the name yet, so I can't tell you on the podcast, but it will be in the show notes. Click on her store. Just go give her some love and
Thank
tell
you
her
so
Nancy
much.
sent you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay. So, Nancy, thank you again for being my guest on the podcast. And just to repeat, the best ways people can reach you are your email, which is,
Info@nancybadillo.com.
thank you, and your website, nancybadillo.com. And then if you need any marketing tools, marketing help with your Etsy shop, you as in you who's listening, check out Nancy Marketing Tools. And I will link to all these also, so you can easily just hop over and check them out and see what Nancy is doing. And of course, the Art Principles course as well. Is the best way for people to find out more about that to go to nancybadillo.com?
I have it in there as well. What I could do is send you the link.
Okay.
That will take them directly to the sales page, and because it has a lot of information in there, so they're able to go ahead and learn more about the course.
Okay. All right. So check out the show notes for this episode. There will be a link to the course with a lot more detail. Nancy, thank you so much for being my guest. Thank you for just being a very helpful resource to the Etsy community. And like Nancy said, if you just want to start learning, get to know her and her teaching style, check out her YouTube channel. She has so many videos on there about so many different topics and aspects of selling on Etsy. And when you've got your fill of all the YouTube videos, then maybe you want to take the next step and have Nancy walk beside you in helping to set up an Art Principles store and maybe take your Etsy selling business to another level, especially in this time if you're struggling.
Exactly. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thanks again, Nancy. And
no, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I tell people, guests like you, any guest I have makes the podcast, because then I have no one else to talk to. So
no problem. That's a great aspect to look at.
Yeah. And I thank you for listening to the podcast, and I will be back next week. And like I said, the guests make the podcast what it is. And if you would like to be a guest on the podcast, please go to convome.com and click on the Be My Guest tab. Also, you can email me directly at interview@convome.com. I would love to have you as my guest. I would love to have more international sellers. I would love to have more male Etsy sellers, young, old, everyone. So I just want to interview a diverse group of sellers, because that is what Etsy, that's who represents Etsy sellers. And so again, it's convome.com. You can also connect with me on Instagram, and my handle is @convomepodcast. If you listened to the audio blog episode I did back in April or May, I also have an Instagram account for my Etsy shop, and I talked about how to sell on Instagram without having to have a website, and selling what you sell on Etsy. And so if you want to check that out, it's @simplycraftsupplies. And I think that's it from me. Again, I thank you for listening to the podcast. I will be back again next week.
Thank you for listening. You can subscribe to the podcast in iTunes, and while you're there, please leave a review too. Visit convome.com to leave a comment or feedback on this episode.